Well, today I want to talk about the manga, comics, and graphic novels I want to read in 2019. So I totally forgot to mention these at all in my talking about my goals, so I decided that why not just make a video about it? This is how you have quality content on this platform. So I wanted to just go over some of the ones that I've been reading and I want to continue, or ones that I am intrigued to begin. So first of all, we have the DC Rebirth continuity of DC Comics, obviously. I am a sucker for DC, I'm a sucker for superheroes in general. I've heard that the Marvel's continuity is screwed as heck and it never makes sense and the comics aren't really that good. Someone might be able to believe me and convince me to read the books. I'm not super convinced. I'm also way less committed in the Marvel universe anyways. I'm going to hopefully read the latest continuity of DC Comics that started in 2016, and I read the first few volumes of the bind-ups of The Flash and I really enjoyed them, and I just haven't read any more. I want to read Nightwing because Dick Grayson is definitely one of my favorite characters in comics all through it and I just adore him. I also want to read some Batman because I talk a lot about the fact that I don't always appreciate the way that Batman is adapted, which means I should probably read more of his comics so that I actually have validity in saying that. And then in that, also Batwoman, because it's coming to the CW and I love the Arrowverse. And I also realized that I don't know much about Kate Kane other than the fact that she's his cousin and a lesbian superhero. That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge, which is pretty pathetic. And she is redhead. Yay! Maybe I'm Kate Kane. I also might go back and read some classic ones that are like well loved and whatever. I don't know. If you have DC recommendations, let me know. And talking about DC, Law and Justice, the companion the companion novels to the animated series. Law and Justice is one of my favorite series of all time. I just finished rewatching it, and the third season has finally come after a 5-year absence of being cancelled and finally being picked up, and that is a testament to the love of fans. And I read the first 2 volumes already and I really enjoyed them, and I can't wait to read the next 2 and then I'll be done, which will be sad. I have Death Note. Okay, my story of Death Note comes way before BookTube. It started about 3.5 years ago when I first heard about it, and it sounded awesome, and at the time I really didn't have a whole lot of desire to read manga or anything, but since then that has obviously changed, and I can't find copies of it very easily, which is why I haven't procured it to read. However, I am committed to read it. It is about this dude who finds a notebook, or has sent a notebook, something. Whoever he writes in the book dies. And I know that it's a great story about a hero falling and all of that, and I can't wait. I also want to watch some of the adaptations. I know some are terrible, some are good, but I know I've been holding off for years because I know as soon as I watch the adaptations, I'm less likely to actually read the manga. And then talking about manga with adaptations that I've been wanting to read forever is Full Metal Alchemist. This is the story of 2 brothers. I will just read a blurb from it because I read the blurb and I was like, oh man. Alchemy, the mystical power to alter the natural world. Something between magic, art, and science. When 2 brothers, Edward and Alphonse Elric, dabbled in the powers to grant their dearest wish. One of them lost an arm and a leg. The other became nothing but a soul locked into a body of living steel. I need to read it now. My library has all of it but the first volume, and whenever my places that I find it online don't have it, which is very annoying. So if you know a way I can get a free copy of the first one, let me know because I really want to start this series. And then talking about series that I adore and companion comics to it would be Avatar: The Last Airbender. This year is actually the 10-year anniversary of my love of Avatar when I first discovered it in August of 2009, so I've loved it for a really long time, and the comics were just starting to come out, I think around that time. They don't necessarily always feel the way that I feel like things should have turned out, but I'm going to willing a chance. I'm going to read them. I'm going to be able to encounter some of my beloved ones again, and that is enough. Over the Garden Wall is a wondrous TV show. If you haven't watched it, it is short and like there are 11-minute episodes and I think there's like 10. It is phenomenal. It is beautiful. I discovered it through my friend in first year. It was lovely and exquisite. I'm just saying fancy words now. It's about these two brothers and they go over the garden wall and there's this beast of darkness and there's just, it's like creepy but weird and I adore it. And then Deadly Class, Assassin School. One of the broken dreams of my childhood is to go to boarding school since I was a very small child. The issue is that Canada has a population of like 3 boarding schools, but alas, I wanted to go to boarding school, and the fact that it's an assassin boarding school, I'm ready. It's in the 80s. It is gritty. There's also an adaptation of it happening, which means I should watch it because I want to watch the adaptation. Everybody's an alien when you're an alien too. Ah, this was the one that I was actually supposed to fact check, that I knew what was going on in it. So this I discovered through BookTube SFF last year, and I thought my library didn't have a copy, but apparently I requested it enough that they actually got a copy, which is super fun. And if I'm remembering correct, it's about this boy who goes around and explores different areas, and it's about humanity and like connectiveness and all of that and how we all feel alone, and it's like you're an alien but other people are alien to one another. That's my general gist of it. That could be totally wrong. I'm not an authority. Talking about last year's reads, Watchmen. I read the first like few hundred pages of the bind-up. It's a large bind-up, probably like 600 pages. I've probably read 250, 300 of those pages. And then I stopped, mostly because it was during a time when, as many of you probably know, I have PTSD, and things that do with sexual assault and rape are very sensitive to me. And in 1 month I read, like, it felt like every single book I read had that in it, and I was like, holy crap, where is the trigger warnings? And it like started to really depress me, this book, so I set it down, but I do really want to finish it. It is like a very gritty look at superheroes, and it is so well done, and it's beautifully constructed and very nuanced and depressing, but I'm really excited to dive into it. I originally said I was not going to continue with My Favorite Thing is Monsters. However, I think that this is a concluding novel that is coming out this year, and it's because it deals with child prostitution, and I read it at the same time, and yeah, it was definitely dark, but it deals with this young girl, I think she's 11 or so, and she draws pictures and sketches things in like a notebook diary visually to deal with a lot of the like trauma and things going on in her life, and it's very powerful. She draws herself as a werewolf detective, and it's set in the Cold War area, somewhere between 60s and 80s. My Secret Path, this is something I also don't know very much about, other than the fact that it deals with Canada and residential schools. If anyone does not know about Canada's history with residential schools, it's probably by far the biggest blight in Canadian history. During many of the years of the 20th century, Canada's government put natives in schools to try to civilize them, and it was full of abuse and terribleness and beating people for speaking their native language and all of these horrors, and they didn't get shut down until, well, many of them got shut down earlier, but the last of them did not get shut down until the 90s, which the fact that that was going on during my lifetime, and it's horrendous. I'm literally getting shivering with anger right now. So I think that is a really important to talk about it and to discuss in books, and of course I want to talk about that on my channel. The Woods, this is about a high school that is transported to space. I read the first volume last year and it was quite good. It wasn't exceptional or anything like that, but it was definitely well done and funny and has monsters, and I picked it up on recommendations of Maddie from the Book Pusher, and I just think that it's a fun one to read. And then, this one I just put on the list for Charlie Brooks, because she recommended it, because she was talking about series she wanted to read, and Blackathon and all of that wonderfulness. It is a look at everyday life in 1978 in West Africa on the Ivory Coast, and I'm so down. I don't need to know much. Apparently has meddling family and just everyday, like, I love that, like, everyday life stuff. That is all. I hope that you have a fantastic day, that you are enjoying what you're reading, and that things are going well. Leave me a comment. Let me know if any of these are interested, if you read graphic works at all, and how you're doing. Anyways, bye.